Welcome back to Beer Brackets, everybody. Today we're reviewing the Erdinger Dunkel. It's hard to say if you say it really quickly. The Erdinger Dunkel. So I already talked about the Erdinger Weissbier. That one was fantastic. So they make use of bottle fermentation, which we'll get into a little bit more in our Inside the Bracket episode coming up. And it creates this really amazing, effervescent, highly carbonated beer that they compare to champagne. And the Dunkel is an incredible beer, Alessandro, that I had for the first time recently. I texted you a picture right away. It's like, oh my God, I love this beer. And you're like, I know, I've had it before too. And we had to review it right away. What do you know about this Dunkel style that we can tell our viewers to start with?
Well, Dunkel, the word itself in German means dark. And
makes sense.
It refers to obviously the color of the beer, but before that also to the color of the malt, the color of the malt that is involved in the production of the beer being a little bit darker. Mm-hmm. So that's where that word comes from. Still a wheat beer. And if you haven't seen our episode on what is wheat beer, like, check it out. We'll link it down below. And yeah, I'm excited as you are, my friend. I can't wait to try it. I haven't had it in a long time.
Yes, and so the Erdinger Brewery, guys, has been around since the late 1800s. They're known as being the originators of the Weissbier style.
So for 130 years, we've proudly been brewing wheat beer like no other. Privately and proudly owned for 130 years.
So one of the first producers of wheat beer, and this is their dark wheat beer, which is such an amazing style. Actually, the Dunkel, for those who don't know, interesting little story before we crack it open, because we love our stories and our legends here at Beer Brackets. We do, right? We do. This Dunkel is not as old. We say the breweries from the late 1800s. The Dunkel was actually made in 1989, if I'm not mistaken, and it was put together by the brewers over at Erdinger as a special gift on the birthday of the owner of the brewery, as a little treat for him to try. And he loved it so much that he had them put it into mass production. And today it is still being produced as the Dunkel. So there we go. A little birthday cake, if you will, for the owner of the Erdinger Brewery.
What best kind of birthday cake than getting a beer dedicated to you? Isn't that like wonderful, my friend?
That's amazing. I can't think of anything better. Alessandro, shall we crack these open and get right into it?
Yes, let's do it, my friend. It's time.
It is time. The best time. Beer meditation time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Right off the bat, it reminds me of a really nice Belgian quad. And this style messes with me a little bit because, we've talked about quads, but this looks like a quad, but it's still a wheat beer. It looks a lot like the ABT 12 in terms of the body on it.
It does.
My friend, I will let you start. What do you think about the aroma?
Wow. As I said, I hadn't had this one in a while, and what a pleasant surprise. I love how immediately you get all those classic wheat beer aroma, almost banana and clove character, estery character, malt character coming through, typical from the wheat beer. But what a surprise. You have that roasted character that just jumps through in the glass right away. Brings it up to that more prunes and raisins. Just like you said, it reminds more like of a quad. So, I love this. This is a 3-on-3. I don't have to think about this too much.
It's pretty amazing, man. Like, you get everything. Like, it's interesting that you mentioned like the estery kind of aromas that you would get from a wheat beer. There's the banana that's behind there. Any kind of tropical fruit that you could possibly try and associate to a smell that's characteristic with a wheat beer, whatever comes to you, you can find in this, but it's kind of hidden under a layer of these dark roasted malts that almost give off like a chocolatey aroma as well. Like we talked about birthday cakes already. Like somebody's baking a nice chocolate cake in their oven. It's absolutely delicious. There's so many interesting characteristics there, from the mix of the fruitiness, almost like a banana bread. Oh, yes! This smells like banana bread. It is a strong 3-on-3 for me on aroma. This is delicious. It's making me salivate. So let's get right into it, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Take a sip. Let me know what you think. Oh. Wow. Wow. Okay. You had to you got to shake it out a little bit, shake it out.
Yeah, it got me by surprise. Like, where to start? That initial sweetness that is backed up by this savory roastiness that hits you right in the middle of the tongue, at least for me. A little bit of bitterness, like that bitterness that you get from when you're biting into like roasted bread or bread that is like very highly toasted. Acidity, just bright and light to cleanse your palate and keeps you interested there. Oh wow, there's a little bit of everything. Hops a little bit showing at the end. Wow. This is a 3-on-3, man.
You know what's interesting about this, reading the back of the label while you were describing that, the world's most popular wheat beer. And it's pretty crazy because it has all the characteristics that I love of wheat beer mixed with all the characteristics that I love from a Belgian quad, put together into this magnificent combination that I didn't know existed. But this is a 3-on-3 taste for me as well. You get these things that surprise you that don't come off in the aroma. I get a lot of coffee on the taste that I didn't pick up in the aroma. And I guess somebody could put together what I broke up as chocolate and dark roasted malts. Somebody could probably put those together into coffee in their descriptors. But for me, I didn't pick that up. But on the taste right away, it jumped out to me like a dark roast coffee bean. You just open up that bag, that sealed bag of unground whole coffee beans, and you get a big whiff of it. The roasted malts are really present. You get, and again, those tastes that you would associate with a wheat beer are there. Like the fruitiness is there, but it's underneath. It's a lower layer that hides itself under the dark roasted malts that's just there and plays with it very, very playfully. And so it's a strong 3-on-3 for me, man. I'm curious to see what you think about the mouthfeel on this one, because they talk about having like the really high levels of carbonation because of the bottle fermentation. How does that play for you? I know we're both big fans of carbonation, but what do you think?
Well, my friend, you know what time it is? It's time to freshen up our beers.
Yeah, time to freshen it on up. Oh, there you go. Look at that. It's so similar to the ABT12 in that thick head with the thousands of tiny little bubbles there. And the carbonation, it's unbelievable.
Interestingly enough, while in the aroma and the taste, you can still pick up a lot of the classic wheat beer aromas and taste profiles.
Yeah.
On the mouthfeel, I'd say it's a little bit different than a regular wheat beer. It's a little bit less creamy.
Yeah.
The carbonation hits you a little bit like an ABT12. Like it has those a lot of tiny bubbles that explode, but in a very pleasant way. Like they just like are jumping there on your palate and like making everything like effervescent and dissipate like extremely fast. It just leaves all these dark, deep flavors that you described. The chocolate, the coffee just lingers there. But the mouthfeel is incredible. Like you have this classic wheat beer start of the mouthfeel, and then it like boom explodes in a load of fireworks. At least for me, the 3-on-3, man. Like I don't have to think about it too much.
It's really interesting. You talked about the creaminess of wheat beer that you normally expect, and it does have that, but it's kind of cut by a bitterness that you would expect from the dark roasted malts. Like you mentioned, a dark, like almost like burnt toast before, or a coffee, right? Anything that's a real dark roast, a dark burn, there's a bitterness that you associate with that, and that cuts the creaminess on the mouthfeel, but in the best way. It's sharp, it's crisp, it's highly carbonated. It's freaking delicious. This is a 3-on-3 mouthfeel for me as well. So, but the finish, that leads into it. What do you think about that?
Well, the finish is probably one of my favorite parts of this beer, because there's so much. Like, I mean, I could talk about this probably for a long time.
My friend, we're approaching perfect beer territory here, so I need you to be careful, and I need you to be very concentrated in your role as a beer barometer. So, we need to, I think we should stop ourselves for a second because we're getting very excited. And
You're right.
Perhaps we should have a moment of beer meditation to just clear our minds mentally and clear our beer palates. Okay, we're good. So what do you think?
So, finish.
Yes.
It comes straight from that mouthfeel where the carbonation is really cleansing your palate, and then it transitions into this initial slight bitterness that comes from that roasted character that explodes into coffee notes, dark chocolate that you described, and it just sits there and lingers and brings out like that sweetness. It brings out that hop character that starts showing up like in the finish. It comes there, at least to me, like it comes there more in the finish, and balances all the other elements. But the nice thing is that it lingers, but it lingers in an incredibly pleasant way for me. Just all those elements dancing and telling you, hey, we're here, we're still here, like come and take another sip. I don't know, man, like I'm trying to be in the moment and present, but to me that's pretty much a 3 on 3, so I'm gonna stick with that.
The perfect beer streak is continuing. It's on the finish for me. I mentioned banana bread before. That's really where I get these banana bread elements screaming out of the glass to me. That's really what I taste, because you mix, a common sort of aroma taste that you get out of a wheat beer is that banana, right?
Yeah.
Those estery flavors. And so you have that sort of fruity banana element that's there on the bottom layer, and the chocolate and the roasted coffee, the roasted malts, however you want to characterize that, is in the forefront. It's front and center. And the two mixed together are just an explosion of banana bread for me. And that's possibly the best descriptor I can use for everybody at home watching, if you're trying to imagine what this combination is like. And I'm a massive fan of banana bread. I love it. So, man, this is a 3 on 3 finish for me as well. So coming down to our overall experience, my friend, we've only had 4 beers up to now that have joined our Perfect Beer Roundtable Hall of Fame. Are we going to have a 5th? What's your overall experience of Erdinger Dunkel?
Well, trying to give an accurate reading here and thinking thoroughly and meditating. I can only give the Erdinger Dunkel a 3 on 3 because it's an overall perfect experience for me. Now up to you, my friend. What do you think?
This is a lot of pressure. I feel our forefathers, our ancestors, I feel everybody watching me right now from above, sipping on their own Erdinger Dunkels, wondering whether or not we are going to be allowing another beer into the Perfect Beer Roundtable with St. Bernardus, with the Duchess of Burgundy. It's a 3 on 3 for me, man. How could it not be? Scores all the way through. It just hit the ball out of the park in every way, shape, or form. Maybe this is subjective, but oh my God, is this a perfect beer? We have a new perfect beer.
Oh, look!
My friend, ring the ceremonial Perfect Beer Roundtable gong. It's official! We have a 5th perfect beer. We have another special announcement to make in the next couple of weeks. Keep an eye open for this. We are going to be determining the Beer Bracket's ultimate beer, the head of the Perfect Beer Roundtable. We're going to have some versus episodes that are going to be pitting our current 4 perfect beers until Erdinger came around against each other. Guinness Stout against ABT 12. We're going to have the Duchess of Burgundy against the Weinstefaner Weissbier. And then the 2 winners of those brackets are going to face each other in the finals to determine the ultimate beer. And the Erdinger Dunkel, coming in as our 5th perfect beer, is going to be the first challenger to that crown. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Let us know down below, what do you think about the Dunkel? Would you have rated it as perfect? Keep an eye open for our versus battles coming up and for the most exciting crowning of an ultimate beer that you've ever seen. Don't forget to close your beer brackets.
Never forget.
Never forget. Banana bread.